I'm Miles O'Brien live at the Johnson Space Center, Houston, Texas, on this day after the loss of the Space Shuttle Columbia. We're anticipating a pair of news conferences, one from the governor of Texas any minute now, Rick Perry, to talk about the hunt for debris across his state. And then about 20 minutes from now, representatives of the NASA investigative team are due to brief reporters on their progress thus far on this day after. Still very early, of course, to be drawing any sorts of conclusions. But it is an opportunity for us to learn an awful lot about shuttle systems, which is what we're doing step by step. Shuttle 101, if you will. To do that, we have been calling upon a former lead engineer for NASA in the shuttle program, Randy Avera. And Randy, there were a couple of questions yesterday which maybe you can help us out with, and that was the sense that if there was a communication loss with the orbiter, could it fly autonomously? In other words, did it have enough data loaded up in its computer system on board, those general purpose computers, which are backed up about 5 times, I think? Was there enough data on board for it to fly even if it lost communication with the ground?
Yes, it does have that capability. The software that's loaded in the general purpose computers, which are located in the crew module in that mid-deck right below the flight deck where the pilots sit, that software is developed by NASA in an avionics laboratory. The software code is written and tested and developed uniquely for this particular mission, like the STS mission that we saw Columbia fly. That software is used to do the deorbit burn to slow the orbiter down so it can drop out of Earth orbit and glide through the atmosphere as shown in the animation. And all the pitch around maneuvers where the nose pitches over the tail and the banking maneuvers as you see, the left bank, turning back to the right, and those are terminal approach energy management maneuvers. All of that, the computer is driving the orbiter. The crew is monitoring the displays and controls as necessary.
And it is true that I don't believe it's ever been tried. Maybe on one of the early missions they did try it once, but I believe that that descent into the atmosphere, which, to give you a good analogy, it's kind of like trying to skip a stone on the surface of the water. If you go, at a too sharp an angle, it just splashes down, straight down. If you skip it a little too high, it skips, and never goes in. You have to hit that angle just so perfectly. It's like threading a needle, if you will. But all of that is sort of loaded up in the computers, and it's done automatically, and the crew just watches, right?
The crew just watches. There are some manual inputs on the input-output panel. You may have seen the commander just literally finger punching numbers in the I.O. panel to talk to the computer. The commander updating the computer inputs. And of course the software is loaded for that deorbit burn and reentry, and it's a unique set of software.
And that software can be modified in the midst of a mission and can be sent up via radio signals to the shuttle, and they have a confirmation that they actually have that data stream on board inside those computers, correct?
I don't know the specific details about that, but over the years there have been enhancements to how the software is handled. NASA will be looking into the software, how it was written, the lines of code were written, how it was tested and qualified.
Randy, I'm sorry, we're going to have to reboot this conversation a little bit later about those general purpose computers and turn our attention to Austin, Texas, where we find Governor Rick Perry. We got to warn you, we have some bad audio here, but
Space Shuttle Columbia burned up.
This big circle gives you a bigger
in how we were responding.
Yes, so as the governor
Came by to take a look.
Yes.
What did they say?
essentially the media was reporting this at about 8:15, and I received a call almost simultaneously with the occurrence, and I was here within 30 or 45 minutes, and very shortly thereafter, Colonel Davis, the state coordinator, this place was fully staffed up within a matter of 45 minutes or so from the incident.
Is there any risk of drinking water? I heard this morning that some debris was found in Sabine County, I believe, maybe Toledo Bend Reservoir. It was in some body of water.
I think one of the reasons that we have a TCEQ strike team en route is for that, but the response that we have heard from them was that the any debris in that large body of water should not be a problem at all.
Governor, do you know if
Excuse me.
Do you know if the $5 million you'd be getting from the federal government will cover all of Texas costs?
We don't. Obviously, the reason I can't give you the answer to that is we don't know how long this process is going to last. It's been my understanding that the federal government will reimburse us for the cost of the search and recovery effort.
What would there be beyond that that Texas might have to pick up?
I'm not aware of any costs that, other than the ongoing cost of running this command center, etc.
Would you encourage volunteers to come to the area to help search for debris?
No. Listen to law enforcement. Listen to the individuals at the local area. I'm sure there are lots of citizens that are finding debris that are reporting it. I think the most important thing for people to remember is that this can be very dangerous to their health. It can be very helpful to NASA as they reconstruct this tragedy, and they need to report to the authorities any debris that's found. And keeping in mind, I think the U.S. government is very
All right, let's, obviously we're having all kinds of technical problems there with Governor Rick Perry. We apologize for that. We're going to turn our attention now to the White House. CNN's Suzanne Malveaux has an update on what a lot of talk here today about when and where there might be a memorial service, something happening possibly on Tuesday. Suzanne Malveaux has details on that.
Well, hi, Miles. Administration sources are confirming that the President and the First Lady will be attending a memorial service for the victims of that crash of the shuttle and their families. That'll be on Tuesday. It's going to be in Houston at the Johnson Space Center. We are told that they will be attending that ceremony. As you may recall, the President just yesterday speaking with a lot of those family members through a conference call, really expressing his condolences, really his heartfelt feelings about this tragedy. We saw that the President and the First Lady attended church services this morning. Their service was actually dedicated to those victims. And we understand as well that the President, of course, going to be addressing a number of issues, really very much heartbroken by the whole thing. The President, as you know, is going to be introducing his proposed budget tomorrow, the 2004 budget. That, of course, Miles, also still at this point really a spirited debate over it, if you will, just what kind of funding is going to go to NASA. This is something that the budget has been 2003, some $15 billion, from $13 to $15 billion, but already people inside of NASA as well as outside making some complaints today on the morning talk show, saying that this is not enough and that there have been some cutbacks, that this has not been enough, and perhaps even affecting safety in terms of shuttle missions. So it'll be very interesting to see what those numbers are tomorrow. Miles?
All right, CNN Suzanne Malveaux at the White House. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We are still waiting that news conference here at the Johnson Space Center. Reporters are moving in and taking their seats and getting ready. We expect it to start in about 10 minutes' time. We will bring that to you live, of course, when it happens. We're going to take a break. Back with more in just a moment.